Well, hello guys. Hope y'all are having a great day. We have had some beautiful weather around here the past few days, and I'm so happy to see the sun and see the ground drying out just a little bit. We've had some of the March wind that is typical this time of year, and that's been a help. But we did have some rain on our garden right after we plowed it, and I always like to see that. I don't like to just let it lay there without some moisture on it to kind of mellow it out just a little bit. But anyway, we've got that, and we've got, according to our weather forecast, we've got a long stretch of a dry spell. So I'm thankful for that. So anyway, I want to do a video today. I want to talk just a little bit about this 8N Ford tractor. I've not really done anything specifically on it. I use it a lot in some of my tractor videos, and there's a lot of information online on YouTube regarding these, and I watch some guys working on them, and I see apologize for this wind, guys, but I see mistakes that people make, and it makes me cringe. I sit and talk back but for some reason they don't hear me. I guess that's because of YouTube. But anyway, I just want to share with you a little bit about this tractor. Now, this is not a show tractor. This tractor is used for working, but I still try to take care of it. I don't abuse it, or anything like that. I try to, maintain it. But I just want to talk just a little bit about the 8N in particular. Now, Ford, I think they started around 1903 building tractors, was the Fordson. But in 1939, they come out with the N series, which was called the 9 or the 9N. And they carried that up till 1942. They had one called a 2N, which was basically the same thing as the 9N, only I think, if I'm not mistaken, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it had metal wheels on it because of something regarding the war efforts and things of that nature. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think that's right. But then in 48, they came out with what is known as this tractor, probably one of the most common, as the 8N. A lot of people call it the red belly. They had this one up to 1952. This is a 1952 model that I have here. There were some changes made on the 8N, but they were primarily, an up version of the 9N, where they had 3-speed transmission. The 8N had a 4-speed, but they made just some small changes in the in the console panel, with the addition of a proof meter, things like that. Those were just some subtle changes that the 8N made, as it went along. Some of the earlier ones, all the earlier ones, I think, had the front mount distributor, and the later model, I think around 1950, they put the distributor on the side, and Ford carried that plan. They carried that style on in through their 600, 800 series as well. So we'll just look at this a minute, and I've painted the tractor since I've had it. I'm gonna lay this phone down up here, but I've painted it since I've had it. It's not like I say, it's not a show model tractor. This tractor's for working, and it still has the 6-volt system on it with a positive ground. Still has the 6-volt generator that still works. I've had to work on that. There was a wire came in too on the inside. We had to sort her back together. But, that's typical, anything with this kind of age on it. One thing I love for equipment that goes back to that time span, they're made to oil and grease and maintain, not wear out. And but the only thing I've done on the front end, this tire's been replaced, and can't remember right here. Okay, I did replace this tie rod in right here. Seemed like there was something else. I don't remember. Can't remember exactly what it was now. But that's pretty much all I've did to the front end of it. The engine, me and my dad, 2003, I believe it was, we overhauled that engine. That engine had a complete overhaul. We took the block was took to a machine shop. We had it vatted out. The head, I think we had the head trued up, as the saying is. New valves, new pistons, sleeves, rings, the whole 9 yards. Had the crank turned on it, if I remember right. And new bearings there, and you know, engine pretty much good as a new one, or was, you know, when we overhauled it. Not had any issues with it. Go around to the other side. And you know, guys, I have never, since I've had this tractor, I have never put a kit in that carburetor. That carburetor is just like it was when I bought it 20 years ago. But an interesting thing about these 8 ends, if you'll see this spot right here that I've got my hand on, let me angle the camera up just a little bit. There's something interesting regarding that. Ford made a Jeep back about along in this same time frame that these were made, and that was for a fuel pump on that Jeep. I think there's some videos on YouTube about that if you want to look that up. But you can see mine has the side mount distributor. You can take the points, rotor button, cap. This is the same thing that's on an 800, 600, 601, Workmaster, Powermaster, gas burner. They're the same thing. And I've run the Tractor Supply points, and they just don't hold up. The points that I put in here are Eklund points that I get at Napa. I seem to have better service with them. Some people don't like Eklund points. That's your preference. But I'm going to tell you what works in here for me, and that's what I use. I run AC spark plugs. That's a funny thing, ain't it? Putting a GM product on a Ford. But I run AC. I think those are 45 R45s. I did run the 46. I can't get those anymore. And with that setup that I've got right there, I never have an issue. But I do try to keep my ignition tuned up, keep my points in good shape, and I've never had an issue. Y'all saw the video that I did, you know, back in the fall, where I started it on a cold morning and she fired right up. And now I will say one thing, and I've gone through this ignition. There's probably one thing left that hadn't been changed. Well, 2 things really. Under this cover right here, there's a cap that goes over the points. That's not been changed. And the ignition switch hadn't been changed. But for whatever reason, on a damp morning, when there's a lot of moisture, humidity in the air, don't even think about trying to start this thing, because it's not going to start till that burns off. And once you get that out of the way, you can fire it up and she'll go. I don't know where that little dab of moisture is getting on it. One of these days I will find it when I'm least expecting it. But you know, that goes for anything that's got some age on it. And so anyway, the proof meter on this one don't work. Well, it works, but I don't have the cable hooked up on it. It needs a new skin, and I've seen where you can get new skins to go in there. I just hadn't had the patience to sit down and mess with that yet, but all the other gauges work. It don't have a temperature gauge, it just has oil pressure and amp gauge over on the other side. Headlights work on it. I've got one that's burnt out that I need to replace. The tail lights back there in the back, as you can see, they work. You know, all of that worked. And like I've mentioned before, the next thing, I've never did anything to the transmission or the clutch. All of that is original to when I got it, and I've never had an issue. It's probably one of these days in the future it's going to need the clutch to be replaced, or you know, something done there, because I'm losing travel on the other side. So there's going to need to be some attention to that in the future. But one thing I'll say, most people probably won't even notice this, but this plate right here actually came off of my grandpa's tractor, which is a 600 Ford. And the original plate, they're the same thing that's on a Jubilee or a 600. Their difference is right here. The original 8N, that plug went on kind of like a radiator cap. It had two prongs on the side and you locked it in. Well, this one is threaded, and I like that better because it sealed off better and kept dirt out of there better, so I switched it. The one that my daddy had, it was my grandpa had, the shifter was wore down in here, so we changed the shifters out, and I used that starter button's the same starter button my grandpa used to mash. So kind of just thought that was kind of nostalgic to have that on my tractor. But as I've mentioned before, we did go through the lift on this one. I rebuilt the pump completely and rebuilt the top end up here, the cap, put a new cylinder, new piston. And well, y'all saw some of the video on that where we had it apart back in the fall. We had some issues with it, but I plowed with it, you know, here the other day and didn't have no problems. I mean, she worked great. So I couldn't ask for no better than that. But that's pretty much, you know, what I've did to the tractor since I've had it. Not had any issues with the rear end on it. One thing I did do not long after I got it, the rear seal at the PTO was leaking, excuse me, and we pulled that out and changed that and stopped that so I wouldn't be losing gear grease and all there. This tire here has been replaced. Still got the original, well, not the original, but it's got an aftermarket rim on it, but it was on there when I got it. This tire was on there when I got the tractor, but the rim was in bad shape on it, and we replaced the rim, and it's got a new rim on it because it was getting eat up. But I do have the weight, the fluid in here for weight. I've got that in here, you know, because I couldn't have plowed like I did without it. So, you know, just thought I'd show you a few things about it. An 8N does not have a live PTO, nor does it have a live lift. When you push the clutch in, you've lost your lift and you've lost your PTO. You know, but you kind of get used to that using it. I'm used to that, you know. If you get your lift working in good shape, you really don't have a problem with it. You don't even have to stop. But you know, that's where you cut your PTO on right there, and that's how the lift works, because that PTO shaft runs through that pump and operates that pump. So there's several videos, you know, on YouTube showing that, but I just thought I'd just do a little video on this thing. Maybe if y'all have got any questions or any comments or anything, you know, you'd like to know, feel free to leave it down below. Feel free to leave it down below, and hopefully I can answer your questions or, you know, help you in any way I can. I'd love to. But this is part of our fleet and part of our family, so, you know, we I've got a lot of use out of it. Hope I can get a few more years. And but anyway, just thought I'd do a quick video on this thing and talk to you just a little bit about it. So I appreciate you for watching, and don't forget, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that like button as well, and share the video with somebody else that you think might like it. So anyway, guys, y'all have a great day. Thank you from Little NC Farmer.